Hi there, Mark Shepard here at New Forest Farm in southwest Wisconsin. We're in a little bit of a shady area right here. On purpose, I wanted to show two different things with hazelnuts. The hazelnuts that we're growing here at New Forest Farm are all hybrids, which means that they're different species mixed together. We've got European, we have American, and we have beaked, which is also a Native American type. The idea a long time ago, back in the early part of the 20th century with plant breeders, was to get the nut size and quality of the European hazelnuts into the wild American hazel. Wild American hazel is virtually resistant to a disease called eastern filbert blight, whereas the European hazel is lethally susceptible to it. The two plants have dramatically different growth characteristics. The American hazel is a rounded shrub form. Both European and American are multi-stem. The American hazel classically has a husk around the nut that encloses the whole nut. And until this is hard, dry, and brown, it will not come off the plant. So on the more American type hybrid hazels that are being grown in upper Midwest, the idea is to grow them high density within the row, approaching 1,000 stems per acre, and then have them grown as hedgerows and have them be harvested over the top with a straddle harvester. Currently right now the Americans are really easy to harvest by hand because the plant doesn't really get much taller than 8 or 10 foot tall. The stems are really flexible and they don't break. You just bend them down to the ground, you strip the nuts off. The husk has all these little sticky hairs on it. They smell really great. They get dried down and then they have to be husked. The husk has to be removed mechanically. We use a modified version of the insides of a combine to do that. Well, in Oregon and in Europe, the European hazel is being used, and actually the Hazelnut Consortium, help me if I got that one right, which is Rutgers University, University of Nebraska, Arbor Day, and Oregon State University. They're working mostly with genetic material that Dr. Tom Molnar from Rutgers got from the northern range of the European hazel that he brought to the U.S. intentionally infected with eastern filbert blight to see which ones don't get it. The European hazel is more of an upright form. In Oregon, it's grown as a small tree. One stem is chosen as the main stem, and after about 3 or 4 feet, it's allowed to branch off. Well, it just so happens that some of our hybrid hazels in the upper Midwest have a very similar form to the European, which is this one right next to us right here. Some of the things that we see is a very upright vase shape to the shrub. The nut itself is still in a husk. The husk is called the enveloper, like an envelope. It envelops the nut. It's drastically reduced, and the nut actually falls free from the husk, just like the European hazel. So with this particular specimen right here, this can be trimmed up and grown as a tree. So people who want to do high density hedgerows can do the high density hedgerows using the American type. And then those who want to grow the small tree orchard type can also grow the small tree orchard type. Notice also the similar nut size as the European. This particular individual right here actually has been in variety trials with the University of Minnesota and University of Wisconsin for the past 7 years or so. And it's one of the top largest, I think it's the second largest average nut size. It's the in-shell nut. And then the kernel is one of the largest kernel size. And it's the highest percentage of kernel to shell. There's more kernel in here than shell than any other hazelnut in the upper Midwest. What's unique about the ones that have been variety trialed by Minnesota and Wisconsin is these plants have been hardy below 40 below zero. Some of this plant's offsprings are growing in Fairbanks, Alaska that seem to do just fine. Whereas the Europeans are restricted to the Pacific Northwest for their growing region because of the climate and disease pressure. And then the Rutgers releases are mostly USDA growing zone 7, if my understanding is correct, 7 and warmer. So these are hazelnuts that we in the northern climates that get 20 below, 40 below, we can grow, and we can grow them either like European small trees and harvest them with current machinery from the ground by sweeping them off the ground, or we can grow the American type with the enclosed husk and either harvest them by hand or over the top with a straddle harvester.